with the athletes that you've dealt with, in all sports, with rugby and with combat sports and all the other sports you've dived into, what has been the biggest difference between a good player and a great star player?
Uh, what would be the biggest difference? Man, it's hard. It's hard to say because like people often say that hard work always beats talent. These kind of cliche sayings, but when you've been in that world, talent wins. Like I can work as hard as I want. I ain't getting there. And some guys are just like some guys are that talented where they eat dog shit. They kind of train in the gym, but they don't really like it. But then on the field, they're animals, and it's whether that's the thing that separates it. I don't know. I will say as well, maybe the other ones that are quite good, kind of just they love the game and study. They study the sport to the point where they're essentially masters and experts of the sport, and that's like technically and tactically. It's very rarely the ones that are the best in the gym or best in the conditioning test or whatever it is. It's usually the ones that understand the sport really well. They understand where they should be. They understand. I will say that they have knowledge of all the different scenarios and situations that can occur in a game, and when they're in those scenarios and situations, have the skill set to execute whatever it is to take advantage of it. So it's skill based, and then there's obviously the talent and genetic factor that's huge, but very rarely talked about.
Man, growing up in New Zealand, you feel that so early, like especially in like the area of, let's say, under 12s and like, where kind of like you're on the edge of puberty, and then there's people that hit it really early. Like, for example,
Yep.
a lot of my mates, Samoans, Tongans, Maori dudes. I'm Maori, I'm half. But my dad was like a smaller Maori dude where there's like the mass, like my cousins are huge, they're absolutely stacked. But there's a lot of my friends were islanders, and they had facial hair at like under 12s, under 13s. I'm like, hey, I'm the same age as you. I look like your kid, and yeah, just the genetics and the talent of them growing up. Like, I think as you get older, it does kind of fizzle out, and work ethic and time in the sport do really kind of, the more time you have in it, the more it plays out. But especially when you're kind of at that younger age, I guess is kind of what I'm referring to. That factor is like absolutely massive. But if you pair that kind of, let's say, genetic freak or really talented individual that just has that natural knack, if they put, I don't know, a little bit of work into that, they become absolute animals, like you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, by work, it doesn't just refer to like people think work hard as in the training hard, but as I mentioned, like studying the game, like they understand it well. That's I guess that's work. And that's really what separates most athletes. Because you'll find it in all sports. Ones that just like don't do extracurricular strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
And that good. It's because they're so good at the damn sport.
Yeah, I got hooked on touch rugby. So that was like, I played rugby.
I fucking love touch rugby. That was my jam.
Mate. So I grew up in Christchurch, obviously, and I played for my high school. I went to Christchurch Boys High School, so I played rugby there, but then I kind of phased out and I focused on touch rugby because I just loved it more. And we went to nationals and all this kind of stuff. And then I played for Canterbury. I played for the Canterbury men's team. I was like 17, 18. I was like the youngest in the team. But just being around, like, I don't know if you know Scotty Grant and Naser Silbury and stuff like they were my idols and my teammates. And I was like learning so much. But like there's like I don't know if you know Naser. He was the New Zealand captain. Okay, so he's the New Zealand captain.
I didn't follow that.
Oh, okay, yeah, right. Yeah, I could talk about this for hours. But like he was like this naturally super fast dude, also very hardworking New Zealand captain, absolutely phenomenal. Then there was Scotty Grant, who invented shuts and corners. So he was literally like, he was the concept guy, and he was like, yeah, shuts and corners, like these guys pull this way, and he's like, but if this happens, this guy covers around the back, and I was like, I was just getting like my mind blown. But he was the kind of like mind dude, like the genius, but physically he wasn't fast at all, but he was so slow, like people would laugh because he was literally the slowest on the field, but he'd always just like scoop through, and he'd just be in the inbox with the ball just like looking around because he invented the defensive system, so he was like, I know where to stand at the right time. And it was like polarizing to see the, like, let's say genetic freaks, super, super fast and talented. And then Scott, who was just like the brains behind it, but they were both killers in their own right. And it was really, I guess, interesting to see the two different pathways of people that could be really talented and at a national level sport.
Yeah, and then obviously there's you got to find. I guess you play to your strengths, and you got to find ways to get there if you don't possess the other stuff. You know, if you don't have the physical talent, maybe you have that brains, versus or vice versa. You know, maybe you don't need to use your brain at some point when you're playing rugby league or something. You're a prop. You're just running it straight. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.